This is a tutorial for your deductive reasoning assignment about law of detachment and law of syllogism. The directions for all problems say if a valid conclusion can be reached based on the given information, state the conclusion and the type of deductive reasoning that was used, whether it was detachment or syllogism. If a valid conclusion cannot be reached, write no conclusion. The first one says, if you are president of the United States, then you are 35 or older. So if you are president is the original hypothesis, so that's P. Then you are 35 or older. That's a conclusion, so that's Q. Then it says Bill is 38. That is a specific statement, but it's specific in regards to the conclusion, which is Q. It looks like it should be law of detachment, but if you look up above, law of detachment should be if P then Q, then the specific statement should be in regards to the hypothesis, not the conclusion. So based on this information, we have to say no conclusion. Number 2, if you live in Des Moines, then you live in Iowa. So in this one, you have your first hypothesis as you live in Des Moines, so that's P. Then your first conclusion is you live in Iowa, that's Q. The second statement said if you live in Iowa, well, we just saw that as a conclusion, but now it's the hypothesis, but it's still Q. Then you live in the Midwest. That's a new conclusion, so we'll call it R. So this one looks like it'll be law of syllogism because law of syllogism says if P then Q should be the first statement. If Q then R should be the second statement. And that means the conclusion could be if you live in Des Moines, then you live in the Midwest. The reason we can make that our conclusion is because, again, according to the law of syllogism, if you have your first statement, P then Q, and you have a second statement, Q then R, since the first conclusion is the second hypothesis, then you can kind of remove those two and merge the first hypothesis and the second conclusion as one. So this hypothesis and this conclusion will merge into one according to the law of syllogism. And that's your conclusion. And it has to be in that order for the law to work. Number 3, if two segments are congruent, then they have equal measures. So here I have my hypothesis, that's P. They have equal measures, so that would be my conclusion, which is Q. Then it specifically says segment AB is congruent. Anytime you see that symbol right there, that means congruent. Segment AB is congruent to segment CD. So that's a specific statement in regards to the hypothesis. So this is the law of detachment. So based off the law of detachment, I can conclude that AB will equal CD. Notice I didn't put the bar above the segment pieces because I'm referring to their measurement. And when you're referring to the measurement, the bar is not necessary. And then, the equal sign stands for equal measures. Or you could write it out in words and phrases. You can write it out you saying AB using the word equals CD. And again, we use the law of detachment to come to this conclusion. So make sure you write law of detachment beside your conclusion on your homework paper. The same thing with number 2. You would need to write law of syllogism per the directions. And number 4, given you are tardy 3 times, so that's my hypothesis, that's P, then you must go to detention. That's the conclusion, Q. Susan is in detention. So we have a specific statement, but it's referring to the original conclusion, which was Q. So we cannot come up with a valid conclusion because we don't know why Susie's in detention. It could be because she's tardied. It could have been because she was skipping. We have no idea. We don't know because this statement is not based off of the hypothesis. It's based off the conclusion. So we have to write no conclusion. Again, in order for law of detachment to work, your general statement, which is the first given statement, has to be P and Q, and then your specific statement, the second one, has to be referring to the hypothesis, P, not the conclusion, Q, in order to make a conclusion. This concludes your tutorial. I hope this helps make the assignment a little more understandable.